Okay, we are live and recording on eScribe.
All right, thank you very much. So first things first, we are still meeting virtually. There are several ways that the public can engage and comment on agenda items. The first being you can go to www.ci.missoula.mt.us/webcasts and provide comment on individual items up until the meeting starts. After that, you can always join us here in our virtual meetings. There's several numbers to call into, and you can always leave a voicemail message at 406-552-6012. And then Jordan, your hand was up briefly.
Yeah, never mind.
Okay, all right. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get this meeting started, and we'll I think it's time. It's 1:10. We gave folks a little bit more time to join since the last meeting went long, and we have to get everything set up and working. So let's go ahead and start with roll call, and I hope folks will keep trickling in.
Anderson? Absent. Becerra? Carlino?
Present.
Contos?
Here.
Hess?
Present.
Jones?
Present.
Jordan?
Present.
Nugent?
Present.
Savage? Cheryl? Vasika?
Present.
West?
Present, and Becerra joined as well.
Did she? Okay, thank you. So I'm marking Becerra. All right. And we have a quorum.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So without any objections, our minutes from June 22nd, 2022 will be approved. And let me just want to check if there's anyone in the public. There are no attendees to comment on non-agenda items. So we'll go ahead and move on to our first item of committee business, which is a appointment to the Missoula Redevelopment Agency Board. And I believe Dale may be here to speak on, or Ellen. I'm not sure which order, you want to speak. So Dale, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm happy to start, and I'm very pleased to talk about the mayor's recommendation for Jack Lawson to be next member of the MRA board, and his resume is attached in the application. You can see all those things up. And I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that aren't on, and why here that he's also makes Jack a great potential member. He's been really active in the community since he took over the helm of Clearwater Credit Union, including lots of city things. So I want to mention he was when the city was drafting the Affordable Housing Trust Fund policy, he was a member of the steering team that was part of the finance aspects of that. He's been involved, and the credit union has been involved in a lot of our climate action aspects of this, and then plus his skills in just being in the financial industry and having a planning background, I think he would be a great addition. So the mayor would like you to confirm this appointment.
Thank you, Dale. Ellen, do you want to add anything to this before I call on Mike?
Nope, I'm an observer.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen. All right. Mike Nugent.
Thank you. Yeah, I've gotten to know Jack a little bit through various community endeavors, and I think that he's a great voice for this board, and I'm happy to make the motion.
Thank you. That's in order. And I will just note for the record that there are no members of the public in attendance to comment on this item. So I'll go to the next committee member, which is Gwen.
Great, thanks. I just am going to also sing his praises, and I'm happy to support this. I think He's been incredibly active in the community ever since he moved to Missoula a handful of years ago. He's just super community oriented, but also his background is a really great background to bring to MRA because his background intersects with what they do. Basically, he's been a planner, he's worked as a contractor, he's been in finance. So all of that really comes together so that I think he'll add to good discussions. And yeah, I know that he's also been involved with well, there's just so many different components in Missoula that he's been involved in, but the refugees that have come here, he's also been very involved with IRC, I believe. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I am happy to vote yes for him.
All right, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, one of the things I hear the most from constituents when it comes to the MRA is that there's some frustrations around redevelopments of banks, for example, or big corporate hotels or things like that. And I know we've got another bank vote coming up. The First Interstate Bank is trying to request TIF funds for a new corporate office, and they're also simultaneously building their own new location in town as well with their own money. And I just cannot support this today, although Jack, I'm sure, is a nice person and is doing a lot of good stuff. But with 23 years of bank CEO background, I just have a hard time voting for somebody who's going to vote, who is likely to vote for redeveloping banks with taxpayer money. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. Gwen, is your hand back up?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Thanks. I appreciate my colleagues' comments, but I kind of wanted to push back on that a little bit. I think it's really not. I think it's much better to look at the policies that are in place for MRA, and it isn't the type of business that is or is not applying for aid or applying for infrastructure or deconstruction or any of that. It's not the type of business, it's what URD they are in and what phase that URD is in. So URD 3 is really a newer URD, still building up its tax increment finance base. So it's super important to be partnering with the private sector. So I think it's really, I don't agree with saying that it's the type of business. That's just not the way the analysis works, frankly. And with URD 2, where we have a 9-year exit plan, that focuses on how that money will be spent, and that's the policy for that. But for the other URDs that are younger, that are still building up their tax base, it is very important to partner with the private sector. Otherwise, we're not going to go forward and ultimately have the tools that we can use for affordable housing and things like that. So I just wanted to put that out there, but happy to vote for Jack. And I don't think just because he works for banks that he's going to vote for banks. I think he's a very, very conscientious, intelligent, and aware person who is going to do the full analysis based on the policies that are in existence.
Thank you, Gwen. And I just wanted to add a few words about Jack. I think he's a great nomination for this board. He and the credit union have been involved in some really innovative projects here in Missoula, whether it's investing in places like the Cornerstone Apartments through the Footprint Fund, which is a fund that can be used to offset carbon footprints of developments. In that case, they supported improving the heat systems that were in the units for higher efficiency, and allowed the housing authority to really build a better product. Beyond that, Mr. Lawson is always open to supporting neighborhood level projects, and at least I realize they can't say yes all the time, but at least listening and supporting when possible. So I think that and his background in being intimately involved in our housing policy and knowing what the goals are for the community, I think he's a great addition to the MRA board. So with that, unless there are any other comments, which I don't see any, and we still have no public, I think we'll go ahead and go to a roll call vote.
Okay. Becerra,
Yes.
Carlino,
Nope.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Jordan,
No.
Nugent,
Yes.
Basika,
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Right, we have 7 yes, 2 no. Motion is motion passed, correct? But it goes back to committee reports for city council for further discussion.
I think unless Daniel or Kristen have a strong opinion, I think we could just keep this on committee reports.
Committee reports, thank you.
Or not committee reports, sorry, the
Oh.
consent agenda.
Thank you.
And then our second item on the agenda was the appointment to the Affordable Housing Resident Oversight Committee, and I believe that item has been pulled. Daniel, did you want to speak to the last item and where it is?
I was just hoping to put it on committee reports, just to not have to separate it a second time later on.
Okay, we can do that. All right, back to item 3.2. This item has been pulled, and then Gwen, did you want to speak to it briefly? I know Emily is also here in case anyone has questions about why it's pulled at this point.
Right, so this is for the Affordable Housing Trust Oversight Committee, and this committee is a bit complicated in that there are different categories that we need to have people fill, and I think we got ahead of ourselves a little bit, and the person that we were going to nominate today that has interviewed last year, and so we can pull those people up off of the list based on our rules, but he doesn't necessarily fit the category that we are trying to fill right now. So I think we just got to go back and get that graph crystallized a little bit and make sure that we have the right categories filled. And I don't know if Emily Harris Shears wants to add to that, but that's what my understanding is the issue.
All right, Emily gives Gwen's explanation a thumbs up. All right, so that was, excuse me, our last agenda item, and there still is no public in attendance, not that there's anything to comment on right now. So we'll go ahead and adjourn, and we'll see you all in the next meeting.